Modern democracies have all the rights and responsibilities that our forebears struggled to bring about in an imperialist and autocratic world. We have the right to freedom of association, conscience, religion, and freedom from it, and thought. One of our most important liberties, dare I say more important than the rest, is the right to free speech, and it is under attack. No, it's not ISIS or some third world dictatorship that is muzzling its citizens to cover up inconvenient truths about their regime. It's not some clandestine organization sanctioned by first world governments that is threatening to take away our privacy, although that does happen to an extent. It is happening right here in the open, under our very noses. We see it, we live it, we breathe it, and yet it takes our breath away when we want to speak out. It manipulates the situation, and we have to couch things in a polite tone in order to avoid unjust scrutiny into our personal lives. It doesn't care about the people it throws under the bus to fulfill its backward agenda. It doesn't care that it claims to uphold free speech, yet in another breath condemns publication of controversial cartoons like those in Charlie Hebdo, or the publication of Mohammed drawings. I am of course talking about political correctness. This pernicious moral and intellectual disorder infects who would otherwise be bright, caring, and conscientious individuals. It turns these people and the people around them into mindless automatons that constantly police the words of others and go for the kill when one of their kin steps over the party line. It turns right-wing into a dirty word and labels anyone that doesn't agree with them as a Nazi, misogynist, sexist, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, or whatever. This is the same mentality that claims that free speech is a fundamental human right, then turns around and attempts to muzzle anyone that disagrees with them. There is no understanding, there is no mutual respect, there is no discourse when dealing with the politically correct, just more hypocrisy. And I would know, I used to be one of them. I came into university an outspoken individual, but I had the wrong opinions, you see. I didn't toe the politically correct line, and there I met people that did and weren't shy about ostracizing me for it. I know, poor me. I guess I'll just have to get over my precious feelings being so hurt. So I became one of them for a time, but after a while I saw through the sham that was politically correct speech. It allowed one set of values to flourish. That of tyranny, oppression, tone policing, and overall exclusion from the group if you didn't meet the politically correct and student-defined standard of free speech. Instead, justice, liberty, and free speech were sacrificed on the altar of tolerance. Once I broke free of its spell, there were more attempts to silence, discredit, and ostracize me from the group. This is the most damaging part of politically correct speech I see happening on campus. It is turning the next generation of leaders into a whiny bunch of complainers that see no benefit in an opinion that is not their own. It values groupthink, putting the feelings of others, or the feelings and needs of the group, above individual rights and liberties. Rights and liberties our grandparents and their parents paid for in blood millions of times over. The groups of students today on campus don't know what it means to be oppressed, and neither do I. We've never had to fight for the right, and thus don't know its own true value. The baby boomers have raised a generation of pampered pussies that back away from any sort of confrontation and could not be relied upon to defend our individual rights and liberties, even with the arsenal of the first world at their fingertips. And again, I am no exception. I consider myself a recovering leftist, and a good one at that. I find the circles I run in tend to still think in this mentality and have not changed their outlook since school ended, almost 3 years ago. Since then my worldview has changed significantly, and I am no longer the person I thought I was just a short while ago. I cannot say the same for the people I used to associate with that live in a static, unchanging, and stifling world that is bereft of intellectual debate and seek to expunge any thought that deviates from the group norm. It's like they set up a system to protect their own beliefs from outside influence, as if reality were the rain and their beliefs needed to be shielded from it, like an umbrella protecting a man made from sugar. If your ideas cannot withstand scrutiny, like the rain in my example, maybe then you need to re-examine your ideas for consistency and their premises for a basis in reality. Your feelings aren't a good justification for believing something. You know what is? Facts, evidence, and demonstration. All else is flim-flam and should be treated as such. Ban-hammering people from discussion also creates an air of entitlement. I am entitled to not hear ideas I disagree with. I am also entitled to take offense and have the offender stop talking if I am offended. Accommodationists, that's what we are breeding. A society of pansies that can't stand to have their precious feelings offended. A society where it's acceptable to sit in a corner for hours at their friend's wedding because someone said something they took offense to on Twitter 3 weeks before the wedding. For Christ's sake, get over yourself, you self-absorbed twat. No one cares that your feelings are offended. Only you do, and you should get over it because it is probably the least worst thing that one human being could do to another. Students today are protected from the reality of the world by institutions that have forgotten the message of the Enlightenment. They demand to have their precious feelings protected from insult and to not be exposed to offensive ideas. It is this very mentality that is allowing anti-Semitism, homophobia, and sexism to flourish once again. By not exposing these ideas to the public and allowing the public to scrutinize them, we are essentially giving them free rein, a safe space if you will, to propagate and go unchallenged by modern liberal values of justice, integrity, and conscience. By claiming offense, you shut down debate on the issue and drive it into the shadows where it cannot be cleansed by the light of critical thought. There it festers and emerges a stronger beast than when it was driven from the light by so-called progressives. So, my message to you progressive liberal person, you paragon of morality, the next time someone deigns to offend your sensibilities by expressing a position you disagree with, instead of driving it back into the shadow from whence it came, like the Balrog, fight it. Demonstrate to everyone why bigotry is unacceptable. Show the people around you why the position this so-called bigot is taking is morally, ethically, legally, and intellectually bankrupt. This is the only way that we will move forward. By driving it back into the shadows, you let the idea survive in areas where society chooses or does not know where to look. But by leaving it in the open for all to see, you can let the light of public scrutiny cleanse this idea from the public consciousness. So, before taking offense and loudly declaring their responsibility towards your emotional state, think that perhaps debating this bigotry is a more courageous act than screaming it back to the darkness. Instead of doxing the alleged bigot, or getting him fired from his employer, talk him down from his position and give him the chance to take a more defensible position. This isn't about feelings, this is about democratic rights and the people that want to take them away from you. If their position is so offensive, then get them to change their position by showing the world how truly ridiculous they are.